Hello, this is Business Now, reaching you live from iBrandTV news studios in Lagos, Nigeria. Coming up, Central Bank of Nigeria disburses 203.31 billion naira credits to Nigerian women. African Development Bank targets 400,000 jobs through the establishment of a special agri-industrial processing zones in Nigeria. Nigeria Customs Service seeks engagement of local operators for e-invoice, e-valuation policy. Nigeria emerges first in Africa to access international capital market, raises $1.25 billion Eurobonds. Hello again, I'm glad to have you join us. I'm Michael Nath. We'll begin business now from Russia, looking at the impacts of the ongoing crisis on the state of the economy and business activities across the globe. Global stocks clung to their gains for the week on Friday, but a cocktail of rising interest rates, high oil prices, and no end to war in Ukraine kept alert on their rebound as yields sent a warning signal for the economy. The MSCI World Stock Index was flat at 695 points, up 5.4% for the week, but well below its lifetime high of 761.21 from January 4. And in Europe, the stocks index of 600 leading companies was little changed at 450 points. That's 9% below its lifetime high from early January. There is some relief that the U.S. Federal Reserve on Wednesday finally enlarged on its series of interest rate hikes. And from there, it was a question of watching how the economy evolves and how high inflation goes before speaking. In Asia, MSCI's broad-based index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan was down 0.15%, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng steadied following a furious two-day surge. Japan's Nikkei rose 0.6%. S&P 500 futures eased 0.55% with little in the way of major data ahead of Wall Street's opening bell. Norway believes the country will receive around 30,000 Ukrainian refugees this year, but is preparing for a situation in which up to 100,000 may arrive as more people flee the Russian invasion. Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre told Parliament on Friday some 3.2 million people have fled Ukraine in the last 3 weeks, almost all to Poland and other neighboring countries. United Nations data shows around 2,000 have so far arrived in Norway. Japan will impose sanctions on 15 Russian individuals and 9 organizations, it said on Friday, among them defense officials and the state-owned arms exporter. The sanctions, which include the freezing of assets and Japan's latest measures since Russia's invasion of Ukraine that began on February the 24th. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesman Maria Zakharova and several makers of military equipment such as United Aircraft Corps, which manufactures fighter jets, are among those sanctioned in Friday's measures. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will address Japan's parliament next week, and said former Minister Taro Kono, who now heads public relations for Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party. 3 weeks after the war between Russia and Ukraine began, the federal government says it is working on a new trade policy with nations under the former Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, with whom it shares important mutual trade relations. The policy is meant to immune the Nigerian economy from the numerous sanctions from Western countries currently strangling Russia. The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Niyi Adebayo, disclosed this to State House correspondents on Thursday in Abuja during the weekly interministerial briefing at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. According to Adebayo, the trade policy will be subjected to thorough considerations before being presented to the President Muhammadu Buhari and finally to the public. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Federal Ministry of Mines and Steel Development have called on stakeholders and financial institutions to channel more investments into the country's mining sector in order to realize Nigeria's non-oil economic potential and bolster the nation's export capacity. The Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Olamilekan Adebute, who spoke at the Mining and Solid Minerals Conference in Lagos on Thursday, said the mining sector had been neglected in the conversation regarding the need to reduce Nigeria's dependence on oil and gas. He said, quote, "The whole essence is to explore funding on this sector and to tell people of the possibility of what the sector can bring to the table. Unfortunately, it seems we do not have the total value. CBN has spent several hundreds of billions of naira every year in agriculture," end of quote. Now, the Debt Management Office on Thursday said Nigeria's total public debt stock increased to 39.56 naira in 2021 from 32.92 trillion naira in 2022. The Director General DMO, Patience Oniha, said this at a media briefing in Abuja. According to her, the total debt includes new borrowings by the federal government and sub-nationals. She also said that the amount helped in financing the budget deficit, capital projects, and support economic recovery. Oniha said, quote, "Nigeria's total public debt as at December 2021 was 39.56 trillion naira, or $95.78 billion, as the amount represents the total external and domestic debts of the federal government of Nigeria, 36 state governments, and the Federal Capital Territory." She further said despite the debt increase, the country still within the total public debt stock to the gross domestic product limit of 55% set by the World Bank and 70% set by the Economic Community of West African States. Now, Nigeria's billionaire businessman, economist, and philanthropist Tony Elumelu on Thursday argued that the reason why Nigeria had been unable to meet its oil production quota as approved by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries was not because of lower investment, but theft. Elumelu's position is contrary to the views expressed by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Temitope Silva, who had attributed Nigeria's inability to meet its oil production quota to low investments. Nigeria's oil production quota, as approved by OPEC, is pegged at about 1.8 million barrels per day, but in the last few years, the country has struggled between 1.3 and 1.4 million barrels per day. Early this month, Silva said Nigeria's inability to meet the oil production quota was due to lack of investments in the oil and gas sector. He said the lack of investments was due to the recent spate of exits by international oil companies such as Shell and ExxonMobil from Nigeria's oil and gas sector. In the meantime, airline operators have hinted that another spike may await domestic air fares in the face of current realities in the fuel supply chain. The carriers under the aegis of Airline Operators of Nigeria said they might be constrained to sell at 120,000 naira per one-way economy class, with the aviation fuel selling at 500 million naira or million liters, and with the government's intervention. The airlines that recently bargained 500 naira per liter benchmark with the stakeholders said another rise in price became imperative to cover the cost of operations. The airlines this week raised another alarm over a massive spike at the price of aviation fuel that sold for an average of 650 naira per liter at some airports nationwide. The operators said the unbearable spike and attendant disruption have made efficient air transport and affordable airfares unsustainable. Following an emergency meeting at the behest of the National Assembly, the operators, aviation fuel marketers, the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited and other stakeholders agreed on an interim price of 500 naira for aviation fuel. The price runs for 3 days, pending the determination of a substantive price. Nigeria has officially raised $1.25 billion through the issuance of a 7-year Eurobonds in the International Capital Market, ICM. The Director General of the Debt Management Office, Patience Oniha, made this known in a statement on Thursday. Oniha said that with this feat, Nigeria has become the first African country to access the ICM in 2022. According to her, the country's inability or ability to access the Eurobonds at this time was a confirmation of her established presence with the ICM and engagement with investors on a continuous basis. She said that the proceeds of the bonds would be used to finance the budget and bridge infrastructural deficits. The Central Bank of Nigeria has disclosed that Nigerian women have received credits from its interventions worth 203.31 billion naira as at January 2022. Governor of the Central Bank, Godwin Emefiele, made this disclosure while addressing participants at a webinar hosted by the Deputy Governor in charge of the Financial System Stability Directorate, Aisha Ahmed, as part of activities to commemorate the 2022 International Women's Day at the CBN. Emefiele revealed that females had benefited hugely from the bank's intervention programs such as the Agribusiness Small and Medium Enterprise Investment Scheme and the COVID-19 Targeted Credit Facility. Specifically, he said that out of 134.67 billion naira disbursed to 37,273 beneficiaries as of January 2022, 33 participants, or 33%, went to 12,511 female beneficiaries, while out of 349.51 billion naira disbursed to 712,442 total beneficiaries under the targeted credit facility, and 45% went to 330,128 female beneficiaries. African Development Bank says it is targeting the creation of 400,000 jobs through the establishment of special agri-industrial processing zones across Nigeria. Its Director General, Nigeria Country Department, Lamin Barrow, who spoke at the Agribusiness and Food Security Summit organized by Vanguard newspapers in Lagos yesterday, noted that being government-enabled and private sector-led, a phase 1 of the Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zones program will mobilize significant investments in the agro-industrial hubs and agricultural transformation centers. The program will support Nigeria's efforts to raise agricultural productivity, promote investments, create wealth and jobs, and transform the rural areas from being zones of misery into zones of economic prosperity, he said. Is that the bank is supporting Nigeria to implement bold policy measures to drive the transformation of agriculture and foster economic diversification through the development of SABs. The zones, he added, will be enabled with infrastructure and logistics to support private sector food and agribusiness companies to process and add value to agricultural commodities close to the areas of production. Barrow spoke on the need to support the government and farmers to increase self-sufficiency in wheat production. The Nigeria Customs Service yesterday urged that local operators be engaged to carry out the new e-invoice and e-valuation policy for imports and exports in the country that the Central Bank of Nigeria is planning to introduce. This was as stakeholders appeared before the House of Representatives Committees on Customs and Excise, as well as Banking and Currency, to address issues arising from the introduction of the new system by the CBN. Director of Trade and Exchange of the CBN, Ozoemena Nnaji, had said the new regulation is primarily aimed at achieving accurate value from import and export items in and out of Nigeria. The customs had at the last meeting with the House committees kicked against the new policy, saying it usurped their functions and violated international trade laws. The agency was also against the policy because the CBN did not carry out adequate sensitization of the project, as well as carry stakeholders along in the process, among other issues. But Assistant Controller General of Customs Galadima Saidu said after a meeting with the CBN 2 days ago, they decided to give their support to the policy if it is homegrown, as this would have saved money for the country, among other benefits. The federal government has announced plans to conduct more exploration activities in the nation's mining sector from the sale of its National Integrated Mineral Exploration Project. According to the Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Olamilekan Adebite, the Nigeria Mining Summit organized by the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, NIMET, would be sold through auction to have a revolving fund to carry out more exploration activities in the country. He added that under the scheme, about $50 million has been spent to explore 4 solid minerals out of the 44 minerals discovered. Speaking on the relevance of fossil fuel, the minister said fossil fuels would remain relevant to the Nigerian economy over the next 30 years, saying that solid minerals that are supposed to serve as its replacement have not received the kind of investment that would give the country the quantum of minerals needed to replace fossil fuels. According to him, mining used to be the mainstay of the Nigerian economy before the advent of oil and gas, noting that the sector under the Buhari-led administration is beginning to receive the necessary support it deserves. Still to come, African Development Bank secures $15.6 billion for Lagos-Abidjan Highway Corridor. Details and more business news after this break. Stay with us.
Most people don't understand the magic of a perfect skin, the allure of a well-pampered skin. We bounce from skincare products to skincare products, from spa to spa. Looking for that ideal solution. I found the solution. And it's Blemiville Skincare and Spa. My name is Neil, and I'm proud to be a part of the Blemiville family.
You're welcome back to watching Business Now on Africa, on iBrandTV Lagos. Africa See Now, the president of the African Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, has announced that the bank has secured $15.6 billion for the construction of the Lagos-Abidjan Highway Corridor, which would ease transportation across West Africa. He made this announcement during the 2021 Africa Investment Forum virtual boardroom closing session on Thursday. The AFDB president said, quote, "The biggest deal for the boardroom is the $15.6 billion deal for the Lagos-Abidjan Highway Corridor. The 46-lane highway corridor will connect Lagos, Cotonou, Lomé, Accra, and Abidjan." According to him, this project would support trade in West Africa, impacting the lives of over 500 million people, reducing transport costs and increasing intra-regional trade volume. Foreign scene now. Australia imposed sanctions on Friday on 2 Russian oligarchs with links to its mining industry. One of them, a billionaire with an investment connection to Rio Tinto's Gladstone alumni refinery joint venture. Foreign Minister Marise Payne said Australia was working in close cooperation with international partners to increase sanctions pressure on oligarchs close to Russian President Vladimir Putin over the invasion of Ukraine. Australia has now added 2 billionaires with links to business interests in Australia, Oleg Deripaska and Viktor Vekselberg, Payne said in a statement. The measures are in addition to curbs on 41 oligarchs and immediate family members who already face targeted financial sanctions and travel bans, she said. Payne said the government welcomed Australian companies taking a principled stand with moves to cut ties with Russia in protest of Moscow's illegal, indefensible war against Ukraine. A big Anglo-Australian miner, Rio Tinto, did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the impact of the sanctions on Deripaska, who holds 44.9% of EN Group, a Russian aluminium and power group. Now, the Russian ruble eased slightly in light trading in Moscow on Friday, heading towards a psychologically important threshold of 100 against the dollar ahead of the central bank's board meeting. The Bank of Russia is in focus as it would hold a regular rate settling meeting after hiking the key interest rate sharply to 20% in late February, following the start of what Moscow calls a special operation in Ukraine. Analysts had on average expected the central bank to keep rates unchanged. Governor Elvira Nobielina, who was nominated for another term by President Vladimir Putin earlier on Friday, will present the rate decision and shed more light on future steps in early trading. At early trading, the ruble was 0.3% weaker against the dollar at 103.51 after firming to 101.70, a level last seen on March the 4th. Against the euro, the ruble gained 0.4% to 113.23. The ruble showed limited reaction to an indication that Russia may have averted default on its Eurobonds. China will cut income tax for some small firms to 20% from 25%, the finance ministry said on Friday, as part of steps to ease burdens on small businesses to support the slowing economy. Small firms will be subject to the lower income tax until the end of 2024 from the start of 2022, the ministry said in a statement on its website. China's Premier Ling Guan. Now, the small firms in China account for about 80% of urban employment. We'll take a commercial break now and return with more stories. Stay with us.
Cleaners Limited, professional dry cleaners, best in dry cleaning and laundry services, that meets the needs of our consumers. Yeah, Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Yeah, for clean wash and quick delivery. Yeah, Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. For clean wash and quick delivery.
Swift Dry Cleaners. Clean wash, quick delivery.